Welcome to the Multiplayer Podcast. This is a video game podcast where we talk about a different multiplayer video game every week. I'm your host, Todd, and this week we are talking about Overwatch. Released in May of 2016, this is not a new game, guys. But with the Overwatch League and this just being such a very large part of our gaming experience in our community, we thought it would be an important game to talk about. But before we jump into the game, let's check in with my personal heroes. Paul?
Would you like the sponge or the spray?
And Josh.
Happy birthday!
That's a pretty good Junkrat. I'll give you credit there, Josh.
Yeah, it's better than my Reinhardt anyway.
Yeah,
that's fair. All right, guys. Gaming news this week. Just what have you guys been doing? I kind of have a big one. It's a tale of two games, if you will.
Ooh.
It was the best of times, the worst of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, Overwatch 2, for me, the best of times. Like, we played a couple hours the other day. It was super fun. I've never played like anything of the anniversary for Halo 2, and it just felt it didn't feel dated. It felt fresh. It felt fun to play. Like, all the maps just had a new life to them that I didn't experience in Reach, and I'm just super excited about getting back into Halo 2 and like just, reliving the dream. How Josh, how'd you feel about Halo 2?
I was very confused at first because I could have sworn you said Overwatch 2 we were playing, and then I was like, wait, how did this happen? And then I realized you were saying Halo 2, and so I was like, oh, Todd, I'm gonna agree. I had fun the other night playing Halo 2. I did. Wow. It is way better than Halo Reach multiplayer. I still suck at it, but towards the end, I was starting to like remember the flow of Halo. And it was fun. It's not a game I'd want to play like every night, but yes, I definitely want to hop in. And I love the fact that it can handle such a large group of friends, because that's one of the restrictions we run into is, we have like 6, 7, 8 guys sometimes that want to play, and most games don't accompany or allow for that. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, just for me, I think the map is called Zanzibar with the giant fan in the middle.
Yeah, that
and
one
like
was fun.
Trying to get a flag out of there is just a nightmare, but it's just so much fun. And then when you get it outside of the wall, like everyone just flips out because like you're gonna get it.
It was a good time.
So that was the best of time. A great release, super polished. They knew what they were doing. They've released games before. And then the worst of times, today.
Think I know where this is going.
The Crucible release. Amazon's, as a publisher, their first game that they're releasing, it just didn't work for a long time, right?
Still doesn't.
Still doesn't work.
How many matches have you guys been able to get into for Crucible?
I played one match. And funny story, I played the Heart of the Hive, which is the 4v4 mode. It was the only match I was able to get into all day long. I finally loaded up. I'm thinking, all right, this 4v4 is going to be fun. I know none of these characters. This is going to be exciting. And then on the initial load screen where it shows the teams, I noticed 3 names on one side and 5 names on the other side. And I went, what the heck is happening?
I'm not a mathematician, but
I thought maybe it would be like correct itself when the game started, but no, a 4v4 game turned into a 3v5 game, and I played about half the match and then just quit out because it was like there's no point in this whatsoever.
They forgot to mention that it just averages out to 4v4.
Yeah.
And it just, you never know what you're going to get.
Like that. We're talking about Overwatch today. Like, how insane of an ordeal would it be if it was like 7v5 in Overwatch? Like, people would lose their minds, And then it's like, that just
would never
doesn't happen, man. Like, that's not something that happens in a video game. But it happened today.
I mean, I've been in like a 3v3 match in a game where like it'll be 2v3, but I've never seen it where it went over the maximum amount of players.
It should not be possible.
Yeah, if it was 3v4 because somebody dropped, like, okay, fine, I'm used to that. But yeah, how do you get an extra player on your team?
I mean, really, this has to go down as one of the worst releases simply because nobody can play it. Like, this game's now been out for about 8 hours, and I finally just gave up after like an hour and a half. Every few minutes, I would come back, I would try to load a game. I would just get error after error. I couldn't even get a game to start. Half the time I couldn't even get the tutorial to start. So, I don't know. I still have hope that it'll be a good game, but right now you can't even get into a match. I think you got lucky just getting your one, Josh.
Yeah. I mean, the graphics are great. I see some potential. Todd, you'll be happy to know that the one character that I played has a grapple hook.
Wow.
That is very akin to Pathfinder in Apex.
I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm in.
It feels almost exactly the same.
That's the sniper, right?
Yeah.
Is the cooldown up to like 30 seconds or whatever? They made Pathfinder.
No, it's not that long, thankfully. I know, right? Yeah, they haven't nerfed anybody yet. It's the thing about with Crucible is I think people held a higher expectation simply because it's Amazon.
And it's their first game.
Like, that's the thing we have to remember is, like, people were freaking out because it didn't release right at noon. You know, it was supposed to be available at noon, and then it wasn't. And people started spazzing about that. And then it was like, okay, well, now the servers are getting crushed because the game's up. And it's like, that's every game launch, like, ever. This is nothing new. But people were like, oh, it's Amazon. They have all the money in the world. Like, how can they not have the servers for this and stuff? And
every launch is not this bad. What games can you remember where you literally could not play the first 8 hours? Because I can think of a couple, but it's a short list.
I just mean, yeah, I should clarify and say that it's the server issues and like the not being able to log in because everybody's trying to play. But this game got issues beyond that, like 3v5s and crashing and all kinds of other stuff.
Tarkov had really long queue times, but you could still play.
Right. And I feel like that's how a lot of the games I've experienced on release is like it might take a few times to get in, but then like once you're in, you're fine. Or there's extremely long queue times because it's just like trying to keep up, like just not even being able to get into the game. Some cases getting into like the tutorial is pretty crazy, and then let alone just not being able to queue for multiplayer.
Yeah, it's just weird stuff. Like when I did crash, it would crash me all the way back to the initial like epilepsy warning screen, like out of the matches. So it was almost like the game thought it was just completely starting as if I was loading it up for the first time, instead of just saying, hey, something went wrong and dumping me back into the main menu. You know, like there's a lot of quirky stuff with it right now.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say it crashed me back to like Windows XP.
Ooh,
like
that's
it just
a hard
took
crash.
me all the way back.
All the way back to Windows Me Millennium Edition.
Oh, hey, don't you crack on Windows Me.
Oh my goodness. So here's the review that no one asked for. Each week we review one game, and this week we're talking about Overwatch. Let me read a quick review from the publishers, and then we'll cover our hot take on what happens when the Overwatch forces meet up against Talon forces in a 6v6 team duel. Overwatch is a team-based shooter game starring a diverse cast of powerful heroes. Travel the world, build a team, and contest objectives in an exhilarating 6v6 combat.
I just want to say, with all due respect to our listeners out there, if you don't know what Overwatch is, like, shame on you. First of all, you're listening to a gaming podcast. You're a gamer. If you don't know what Overwatch is,
or have not like seen any of it,
you know, right? Like, I mean, come on, man. Number one, thank you for listening. Number two, go get Overwatch.
Stop listening and go buy Overwatch.
Yeah.
Everyone should know what this game is. Like, what was y'all's first experience with this game? Like, when did you guys start playing?
Launch day.
Yep.
Overwatch. This was one of those games that I was following well before launch. You know, I quantify very, very good like games that I'm super duper excited about by if I'm willing to take off of work to play them for that day. And Overwatch was one of those.
Yeah, I don't remember following it much prior to release, but I definitely played at launch. And I remember just having so much fun because historically I've never been much of a PvP kind of guy. Like I loved doing, like we've talked about, like Halo and hooking up consoles and having your friends over. But for most online games, I was never into PvP, and Overwatch completely changed that. I loved the heroes. I loved the gameplay. And ever since then, I've really been sucked into PvP. So for me, it really just altered how I play games from that point on.
Yeah, for me, I think I started playing right around a year after launch, but this was the game that got me into PC gaming. I remember my brother-in-law, not Paul, a different brother-in-law, bought it for, what was it? I think it was PlayStation, so we could play it together. And then we were playing it, and then he was like, oh yeah, like I play with some other friends or like, you know, guys, you know, except we all play on PC. And then that was kind of one of the things where it's like, oh, like I'm going to buy a PC so I can play Overwatch. And then, you know, there's other PC games, but I Overwatch was like a really large one and like what made me switch over.
Yeah, and I think if we could look at total hours played, we have definitely played Overwatch by far the most. More than PUBG, more than Apex, more than any of these other games we've covered. We've definitely put in the hours for Overwatch.
Easily. Yeah, this is probably, if it's not my top played game, it's my second top played.
For me, it's probably
gotta be close.
The application that's been opened most on my computer. Like we're approaching levels of like Gmail or like Microsoft Word.
You talk about like starting, you know, like do you guys remember like loading the game for the first time and then seeing like it's time to select your character, and then you're just greeted by like all of the character icons and you know nothing about them?
And it's just daunting.
And then it's like which one do you pick? Because there's all of these characters and you got to pick one of them. So like, you know, like I to me that was a super cool moment because it was like there is going to be so much to learn, and finding that character that suits you the best is going to be awesome. I just remember being like so excited about, man, which one of two of these guys is going to be for me, you know?
Yes, and at launch there were 21 playable characters. So you had a lot to pick from, and you would see this list, and these characters were very much like larger than life. You've got like Junkrat with his hair on fire and this tire, and it's like, what is this guy? And then you've got this, you know, Russian woman with like a pink suit and pink hair. And I remember the first character I ever played was Genji. And like I said, I didn't follow anything prior to launch. So I hop in on Genji and I'm like, oh, I throw shurikens. And I thought I was supposed to like be a range character. So with Genji, I just sat back the entire first match, just chucking these shurikens halfway across the map, being like, I'm helping the team, right? And of course now it's like, oh no, that is not how you play Genji whatsoever. But I remember Genji, I played like 4 or 5 rounds. I think I maybe had like 1 or 2 kills, realized I was absolutely garbage with him, and then ended up moving on to Bastion. Like Bastion was my first big love. I played him a ton at release until people kind of learned how to counter him.
Well, and he started with a shield in beta, right?
He did.
Yeah. I can't imagine Bastion with a shield. Thankfully, I'm glad that didn't make it out of beta.
Yeah, that's insane.
Do you guys remember who you first played when the game released?
I remember my first 2. I can't, like, honestly, I cannot remember which character I picked first, but I know the first 2 that I played. One was Reaper, because I'm like, oh, dude with a skull on his face, this has got to be good. And I instantly fell in love with him. I was like, this guy is great. And then Zenyatta was the other one, just from the character icon. I was like, oh, what's this like cool looking robot guy? Like, what's he do? And I remember like, you know, knowing nothing about him, he's a healer.
Yeah.
Like, and he floats around everywhere. I was like, what is this guy?
My 2 were Junkrat and then Lucio. And that was because I had help from like you guys where it's like, all right, here are like some of the starter characters, or like here are some of the characters like where it's not really technical, but you know, you can provide value for the team.
Yeah, the more low skill beginner characters, that's for sure.
So since we've started, they've introduced a role lock of 222. Do you guys think that would like that has been helping with new players because like they can lock into a role, and instead of having the 30-some characters that are available now, it's like they only had to worry about like 5 or 4 or whatever.
I'm going to say absolutely yes, because Todd, you might not remember this, Josh will. When this game first released, there were no limits to choosing characters, and there was no limit to like tank, DPS, or healer. And the running joke is that you'd pop into a new match, and everybody would pick Hanzo or Hanzo and Widow. And I cannot tell you how many matches where that would be the case. And you'd be begging, like, I would pick, like, you know, Mercy or Lucio, and we'd have Hanzo, 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 Hanzo. I'd be a healer, and you would type, hey, can we get a tank? Hanzo. That'd be the last character.
It would be like a delay.
And that was every
like,
match.
Yeah.
So I loved when they finally came in and they did role lock. I mean, if you could get rid of it and have teams who could be strategic, like, you know what, we only need 1 tank and we're going to go 4 DPS and 1 healer or something, that would be great, but you couldn't trust the community. They wouldn't do it. And so now with 222, I feel like you have to place in all 3 of those. If you play in competitive mode, it encourages you to play all the different classes. I thought it was a huge step forward for the game, personally.
I'm going to answer this in 2 parts because for new beginning players, I think it's great. Like, honestly, I was a huge proponent of them pushing 222 forward because I got tired of just the 6 DPS insta-lock guys too. So for a new player or newer, I think it definitely helps you figure out where you're good. You know, like, are you better at DPS? Are you better at healing? Are you better at tanking? In hindsight, I'm not sure that I'm such a fan of 222, believe it or not. And I was one of those people that was like on the forums going like, we've got to have 222. It's the only thing that can save this game. But now I'm like, I think it's like a 1-3-2 would actually be better for the game. They did that in experimental mode for like a week or 2. And I loved it, man. Like, honestly, that was like the Overwatch that I fell in love with. It's too hard if you have a like 1 bad DPS out of 2 DPS to overcome that. And that's the failing of 222 for me.
Yeah, I think I could be okay with like 1-3-2 or something like that, except they would have to definitely rework some of the tanks. Like, you can't be the only tank as Hammond. I tried that on 1-3-2. It did not work.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I might have enjoyed about the 1-3-2 was I tend to play a lot of off tank.
Right.
And so they buffed the heck out of like Roadhog and Zarya, you know, and it was just one of those like, so maybe it was just fun to be really strong as those characters that I was used to. But yeah, I think it was needed, but I'm not so sure I'm still a fan of 222 at this point.
Since we're talking about composition, should we talk a little bit about goats?
Oh, I mean, it wouldn't be Overwatch without goats.
Because that's really why. That's why we have 222, right? You had to break up.
Let's dive into some goats, because goats changed Overwatch.
It broke it. It literally broke the game so much so that they had to like add a new mechanic to fix it. All right. Before we jump too much into it, What is goats?
All right. So goats was greatest of all time. That's what GOATS stands for. And it was 3 tanks, 3 healers. That's it. It was like, get rid of the DPS. Let's just go 3 tanks, 3 healers. And nobody ever dies. And you're just going to outlast the enemy team.
And your brawler comps.
Yeah. Yep.
So you'd have Reinhardt, you'd have Brigitte, you would have Lucio as a healer because everyone's, tightened up. So you'd be this like really tight ball running into the point. And that was always what you would do, right? There was no poking. There was no trying to get a pick. It was, we are going to speed boost with Lucio. We're going to go straight to the point, stand in it. And Reinhardt just keep swinging. Don't even put up that shield. And you could mow over every single comp with this unless the other team went full range. They would have to literally go Widow, Pharah, Junkrat, Bastion. Otherwise, there was like no way that you could break up these GOAT comps.
Yeah, in most situations, the other team would have to go goats to counter.
Yeah, or that.
Who started goats? Which character allowed for the creation and effectiveness of goats.
Brigitte
Brigida
was the Swedish.
Brigitte, 100% Brigitte.
Is she
when
Swedish?
she was-
No.
Sweet, yeah, it's Brigitte. You know.
yeah, it's Brigida. But we'll allow Bridget, and I've heard so
Baguette.
yeah, Baguette. There's
Baguette.
so many pronunciations. They're all valid.
When they released Brigitte and her skill set, Goats was formed, and man, like you said, Todd, it broke Overwatch.
Yep.
They tried so many things to combat Goats. I mean, some of them I loved. Like, they buffed Reaper, who's one of my main characters. They buffed Mei, who is easily my number one played character, and nobody played at the time, so that was great. I mean, they tried doing everything they could to, like, hey, how do we fix this? They just couldn't do it. So finally they said, well, we've got to change the game.
Yeah, they kept on nerfing off tanks like shields. So like Orissa's shields wasn't as powerful. She broke the game for a while. Like just her being a character until they reworked her.
Yeah, she was just so overpowered. I mean, she could break people out of ults. She could swing her flail through Reinhardt's shield. So Brigitte would just run in there like a madman, even though she's a healer, and just swinging away at everybody. I mean, it was really fun to play as Brigitte, but yeah, it definitely broke the game.
She was a hard counter for Rein for a while because he couldn't charge. Like, if he charged, you just bash your shield, and then he's down on the ground.
Brigitte was a hard counter for
Genji,
like 20
Tracer,
of the characters on a
Reinhardt.
21 character roster.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you know, in our defense, or not defense, but like, we played Goats. That would be the thing. Like, we'd be playing comp. In our heyday, we'd have 6 people on, and if we came up against a team, they're like, man, these guys are pretty good. Like, what do we do? We'd start all chanting, Goats, 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 and then we'd play Goats, and then what would happen? We'd steamroll the other team.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, I still feel a little bad about that because it's like I don't like to play those comps necessarily, but you had to. And it was so effective that it was like, okay.
Do you care if we talk about a couple of our other cheesy comps that we've played along the way? Because I'm a huge fan of the pirate ship.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
And I think Todd likes it too, right?
I love the pirate ship.
Pirate ship was the stupidest comp ever.
What are you
And honestly,
talking about?
it's the one comp where I think I would just crack up the entire match.
Oh, it'd be so funny because the
pirate ship can beat goats.
Yeah, the pirate ship could beat goats in some cases. The pirate ship was basically whenever you would play a map that had, you know, where you'd have to push the objective forward. And what you would do is you would plop a Torb turret on there. You would pop Bastion. You'd throw 2 shields up on there like Orisa and Rein. And you would just let it go forward and just shoot everyone in your path. And it's very hard to stop. It really is.
Because they get momentum. The other team has a hard time getting a full 6 stack. And then, like, if you have a shield character, their shield doesn't last because of Bastion. So it's basically 2 shields versus no shields, and that's just hard to win against.
And a portable Torb turret you normally don't have. It's normally stationary, so you can throw it on a movable objective, and the objective heals you.
I was going to say, that's the other main thing is the the payload heals you. When you're on the payload and you're close to it, you're getting healed at the same time.
Yeah, and then have Mercy to damage buff like Bastion or Torb.
Yep.
Like, it's amazing.
Go all in on your Bastion and Torb for damage.
Fun comp.
All right, one of my favorite comps that we can't do anymore because of 222 lock is when we would just go 6 healers.
Oh, that would be fun.
That was the trolliest comp ever.
No one would die.
It was similar to Goats. No one would die.
You wouldn't kill anyone.
You wouldn't kill anyone, but it was just so dang funny. And then someone would get a pick, and then like our team would just steamroll the other one just because no one died because everyone was getting healed constantly.
Yeah, that comp could be infuriating to play against, and it was hilarious to play as because 6 healers rushing out the gate, and then the other team just is like, why is nobody dying?
Yeah.
You could actually get picks though. Like between Zen and Ana, Moira, like you could get kills. And then the thing is that every healer's ult would like counter the entire enemy team. So as long as you didn't pop like 4 or 5 of them at a time, like you could just outlast them forever. That comp was hilarious.
It really was. And it's not exactly a comp, but my all-time favorite thing, and you guys can attest to this, that I've just cackled never more than doing this, is playing Hanamura on defense. One of us would play Rhine and hide across from the choke, so you'd be on the enemy side facing your defensive team, and the whole enemy team would run up to the choke, and the Reinhardt would charge, hit one of the enemies, bring them to your side, and then someone would play Mei and choke it off. So you would literally just hide in this corner, charge the enemy out of nowhere, and then the Mei would protect you while you could get healed back up. And it was always an immediate pick on the other team. It hardly ever failed.
Kind of on the same map, but on offense, what about our, like, not hide and go seek, but like disappearing, reappearing Bastion?
Yes.
Where we would run up to that front gate, throw up a Mei wall, put an Orisa shield or a Rhine right in front of a Bastion. The Mei wall would come down, and then the enemy team would just have no idea that there's already a Bastion set up, shooting, and like he would just melt and mow down the other team.
And the Orisa would pull everyone back with her, whatever her ability was called. So even if they knew there was a Bastion there, you could pull them into the choke and the Bastion would just wreck them.
That was one of my favorite things to do because I felt like we genuinely like pioneered that. Like, I don't know how popular it is, to be honest with you, but that was like one of those things where it was like, we sat down and we were like, man, if we throw up this Mei wall and then when it drops, there's a Bastion just in your face, like that would be incredible. And it worked like gangbusters.
Yeah, because we would hide the Bastion. We would tell, whoever's the Bastion, you're not going to run up to the front with everyone else. Wait till there's a Mei wall and then jump up there, and they're not going to know that there's a Bastion. And I love that we've played Overwatch so much that we had strategies like that for half the maps, where we would say, okay, yeah, we're going to do this strategy because we had played it so much. We definitely knew some of the ins and outs.
Yeah, and then just the go-to one of hiding in the bushes on defense.
Oh my goodness. Hiding in
the
bushes.
So when they run out.
That we have to give credit to me and Todd's brother-in-law, Jason. I'm pretty sure he was the one who started that, where we would all literally stand, if we were on defense, we would run all the way to where the attackers would come out of their spawn, and we would all just crouch in the bushes and hope that they wouldn't see us. And as soon as they would pass, we would open fire on their backs. And it never worked, but it was always just so funny. And our other friend, Shane, would scream, "Don't hide in the bushes." He hated it so much. And that was honestly half the fun.
It would work 1 out of 5 times, which was enough times for us to keep on trying it. And it was amazing.
I loved
that's
it.
Honestly, like we got all this, like, it's one of the things that makes Overwatch amazing is like, yes, it's a competitive game, but when you take 2 teams of 6 and you have some goofballs on each team, there's so much fun that can happen there. Like, honestly, like we'd call on Horizon Lunar Colony. We'd be like, meet us in space if you guys aren't scared. And then 9 out of 10 times the people would just push the point. But then all of a sudden you'd have that team. You'd see them just all beeline it right out the airlock. And you're like, yes.
You'd have 6v6 in space with no gravity. And it was magic.
Yeah, it's just those moments to me are like one of the things that helps to make this game is when you get people that are willing to like make it interesting.
Yes.
And with so many different characters and so many different abilities and just having 6 characters versus 4 or 3 or whatnot, like the game gives you room to kind of goof off a little bit, to try new things, to like maybe stand in a different a little bit different of position. And like it makes it fresh and it keeps the game fun.
Yes. And one of the things that I really loved when you could still do no limits in the normal game was this is just how a lot of people would play. You would just stack one character that was really strong on that map, and it always just led to hilarious, circumstances. Back in the day, Symmetra used to throw out 6 turrets or 6 sentries instead of 3. And I remember on Hanamura, on defense, you would just go 6 Symmetras. Each of them have 6 sentries. So now you have 36 sentries on these choke points. And then, of course, then the enemy team would switch to 6 Winstons. And then you would switch to 6 Reapers. And I always felt like those matches were very funny. And I remember, because you can still do No Limit, like in the arcade when it's in there. And I remember having so much fun where we would go all 6 Sombras and go invisible. And we would all just use the voice line, boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop,
You'd
boop.
see people just spinning in circles shooting, like trying to figure out where people were.
Because we didn't care if we would lose. We would just screw around. Like, we're just going to run around like these, invisible ghosts saying boop and try to drive this team wild. And it was, we always had a lot of fun in Overwatch. I don't think we ever really took it all that seriously. We had some other friends who did, and then we kind of noticed that they would stop playing comp with us. But we always had a good time, that's for sure.
Which, like, I don't want to brag and, give myself credit, but when I started this game, I was in bronze, and I climbed just one arm at a time out of the bronze hole into plat.
All the way to plat.
It took forever.
I thought you were a diamond player, Todd.
Oh, all right, guys. Listen
don't,
to my
Paul, why did
my
you do
diamond.
this?
I forgot about this.
Todd's diamond, guys.
All sitting up straight now. The mic's
not only
coming
am I
closer.
diamond, I'm a diamond widow player.
Oh goodness!
So I bought a new account because I think they were like $5. Like the game was $5. It was so cheap. So I was like, oh yeah, sure. Like I'll buy another account for Overwatch. Like I play this game all the time. And then once I got it so I could play competitive, I was like, I wonder what it would place me if I only played Widow, which I'm maybe okay. F that.
You're
like,
a
I'm
decent
not
widow. You're serviceable for sure.
I'm decent in gold. But because it was such a new account and whatever math they have going behind the scenes, it put me as a diamond widow. And then I never played another competitive match on that account again.
And would remind us of this literally every single match. Do you guys want me to go Widow? Because I'm a Diamond Widow.
Oh, I'm a diamond.
Well, I thought you were going to mention that you were Diamond in Lucio Ball.
Yeah, that's where I thought you were going, because
yeah.
Todd loves him some Lucio Ball.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a diamond in so many things. I get them confused sometimes.
Yeah, the only thing I ever placed Diamond in was Diamond Capture the Flag with Lucio. I had a really good first 5 rounds or whatever and placed Diamond, which was beyond my abilities. I mean, really, I'm a low plat, player for sure.
I loved Capture the Flag, but I just, for some reason, I was not good at it.
I never enjoyed the capture the flag mode. I love like the 3v3 limbs and the knockout eliminations, like mystery heroes even, because I like having to play people that maybe you're not comfortable with, but I just could never get into capture the flag for some reason.
It was different than most Capture the Flags because like everyone's abilities, like there's a lot of speed ability and like they can't just let tracers zoom across the map with the flag. So it was just weird on what abilities you could or couldn't do. So it's like, all right, as Pharah, can I fly? Oh, I can fly with my spacebar, but if I hit shift to boost, then I drop the flag. And like that was kind of weird to figure out.
Yeah, or like with Lucio, where you wouldn't hit an ability, you would just wall ride, and then you would drop the flag.
Right, because you got a speed boost from wall riding.
Right, so you had to learn how to play the characters different in just that one mode, which didn't seem to fit with the rest of the game. So I can see why it would be, tough to play for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what one of my favorite modes is that took them forever to release was deathmatch.
Oh.
Before your match, when you're queued up, like, I love that. You can play characters that you don't normally play. It means nothing. It bides your time while you're waiting for the queue. You can shoot your friends, which is great. And it's like, I mean, they released Deathmatch like 5 months ago, 6 months, somewhere around there. I mean,
yeah,
it's been recent. Yeah, it's been recent that they did that addition. And I love the fact that they finally added that.
Yeah, I think all the different like arcade game modes have been super fun. Just the variety they bring to the game where it's like if it's getting dull, you can go play No Limits, or you can go play like random character, which it's just fun.
Well, and now they're doing the open competitive queue where it's not locked for 222.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
so they've added that as an option for, it's like, hey, if you people really want to play this way in comp, like, we'll let you. Like, we'll create a competitive queue just for that.
Which the one arcade mode they haven't created yet, but they need to, is the gun game with different heroes. We've played that a lot.
Great.
Good old gun game.
We've played that a lot just in custom private matches. And kind of the idea behind it is as soon as you get a kill with a character, you just move one to the left or right, and then you try and get all the way across the board with all the characters. And that game's just so much fun.
What drove me crazy was before you could play it with the workshop, which we'll probably talk about later, we would create custom games, and it was just on the honor system, or we went by the kill feed on the top right. And if your character got the kill, you would move on. And if you got killed by an ult, we would make you move down. And I have only rage quit in video games maybe like 2 or 3 times. But gun game, dude, gun game would bring it out of me, where I would like move halfway down and I'd be like doing really well, and I would just get killed by 4 ults in a row. And I would just alt F4. I don't even care. And I wouldn't even come back. I'm done. I'm not even going to game. I'm going to go watch TV. Gun game would bring that out of me. I was never a fan. I know how much you guys loved it, but there was something very frustrating to me about the idea of losing progress in a match. I hated it.
Or like sometimes it's hard even with like Tracer. It's like I don't play a lot of Tracer, and if everyone else is on McCree and I'm on Tracer, there's no hope. Like I'm just going to be stuck for a couple minutes.
Or if they're all on Torb or something with turrets
Torbs everywhere.
So I was never a fan of gun game, but what I did love was Junkenstein's Revenge. I really loved when they would release like seasonal content. And Junkenstein's Revenge, I'm pretty sure, was the first one that was co-op. So you'd hop in there with 4 people, and you would just play against the waves of AI-controlled enemies. And I always thought Junkenstein's Revenge was so much fun. Like, that really kept the game fresh when they would come out with modes like that. I think the only one that I didn't like was Yeti Hunt. Do you guys remember that one?
Terrible.
Everyone was May against one Winston. That one was a swing and a miss.
Yeah.
May is like my favorite character to play, but both like her snowball fight was terrible and the Yeti Hunt was terrible. I don't know why they can't get a fun mode that involves May.
Yeah.
So Paul, you mentioned the workshop. The workshop, for people who might not know, is basically Overwatch spent some time and created a way for non-developers to create new game modes within Overwatch. And like you can get pretty like in the details about game mechanics. The only thing I don't think you can do is just like any textures or like how a character is actually built in the game. You can't change that, but like all of the mechanics are up for grabs, and people have made like super, super fun, unique, just interesting game modes.
It is unbelievable what you can do with the workshop. And honestly, I think it's one of the best things that Blizzard ever could have done. One of my favorite games to play is Super Mario Maker, which I know that I've talked to Josh about, especially telling him that he really should get it for the Switch, because when you throw the tools to the audience, they're going to get creative. I mean, if you have a team of 500 employees to make a game, or throw it out to your 10 million players, you're going to have some really talented people be incredibly inventive with these modes. I mean, this game doesn't just like let you choose what mode and what characters you can be. I mean, you can change it from 3-dimensional to 2-dimensional. People created Flappy Bird in this game. It's called Flappy Farah. And it's literally a 2D with pipes, and you just keep tapping spacebar. I mean, that you can literally completely rework this game from the ground up. Do you guys want to talk about like some of your favorite workshop modes?
I have mine.
Is it Hanamura parkour, Todd?
It's any parkour.
Any parkour?
I mean, give me a great jump puzzle in a game, and that'll be my new favorite game. And that's what they did with Overwatch is they let it so you could do a jump puzzle with any character, and all the characters had a way to like get to the next checkpoint, but some of them, it would take me 10, 15 minutes to figure out how to get past like a hurdle. But then when you actually do it, it's just so rewarding.
That mode drives me nuts, man.
It's
I think it's that all my characters are fat and heavy, and so they're not good at parkour.
Yeah, you don't get a whole lot of like Roadhog parkour.
Yeah.
Todd, I remember one night, I think you and I played parkour for like 3.5 hours straight.
Oh my goodness. I'm glad I wasn't there.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It was so much fun. But I mean, they have like Diva bumper cars, and they have like a Super Smash Brothers mode where it's, again, 2D, and you pick characters. The camera's way far out from the side, and you just play where the more damage you take, the higher your percentage goes up, and you try to knock them off the map. I mean, to get from Overwatch into that mode, I just stand in awe of what people can do with the workshop. I love that they gave the tools of that to the community.
I think it's only going to get better, too. I mean, the longer it goes, people are going to refine this. And I mean, even this last patch, literally the patch that they released yesterday had a bunch of the tools and stuff so they could just keep making Workshop better. Like, they're still working on making Workshop better for people.
And it reminds me like when Halo came out with Griffball. Like, Halo was doing fine. Or not Griffball, sorry, Forge. So Halo came out with Forge, which gave map editor and like game customization tools to the player base. And then the game that kind of came out of all of that was Griffball, which is like a sport game like inside of the Halo world. And now that's a game that is actually in their like arcade mode or like in their queue.
Yeah, I was going to say it's now the 5th national major sport, right? Basketball, football, baseball, soccer, and Griffball.
Yeah. It barely beat Rocket League, but it beat it.
Well,
How dare you?
Like way back in the day, you would play like StarCraft, and the best you would get was a map editor, right? Where you could design your own map, and you could add rivers, trees, your, whatever the crystals were that you would harvest. But with Overwatch, it just let you change so many things. I mean, you can change how quickly someone gets their ult. You can have characters change right in the middle of a match. One mode, you kill people by doing emotes. If you do an emote close enough to someone, they drop dead. I mean, it really is very cool what you can do. I haven't really dabbled in it myself. I've just had fun searching for codes online, plugging them in, and playing McCree Hot Potato,
See, that's one of my favorites. Honestly, I love McCree Hot Potato.
Yeah, it's where someone's on fire, and if you don't shoot someone else, you're going to burn up and die. But if you shoot someone, it puts them on fire. So it's like playing Hot Potato.
Yeah, so they shoot you got to shoot somebody else real quick to get rid of it. It's great.
Yeah. Before we move on from Overwatch, I want to touch on Overwatch 2. I mean, are you guys excited for Overwatch 2? Skeptical? Like, there's going to be a whole story element to the game. It sounds like they're reworking characters and skill trees.
I am skeptical. As much as I love Overwatch, is it going to be like one of those sequels where it's not as good as the original? You know what I mean? Like, and then it's like, okay, well, that's decent, but man, you guys failed to capture like the magic of the first one or something like that. Like, I'm reserved. I would love for Overwatch 2 to be this amazing sequel and have as much hype and love for that game as like Overwatch, but in my mind, that's going to be really hard for them to do.
I think it's going to be hard, but they've made really good decisions even since Overwatch came out. Like, making it so you can only choose one of each character, or role lock, or just the game builder. Like, they've made really good decisions.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody can do it, they can. But my initial gut reaction is, like I said, is like, I'm hesitant. I'm a little skeptical. I want to wait to see more before like I get hyped about it.
Yeah, and while I do enjoy Junkenstein's Revenge, all of the other PvE modes I have found to be quite lackluster. So it's very hard for me to imagine a story mode and PvE content that's going to be any good. I think for most of us, you play Overwatch for the PvP. That's what it is at its core. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll definitely buy it. I'll try it for sure.
Yeah, like I don't see a world where I don't buy this game.
Right.
Like honestly, like even if I'm not excited about it, or I go like, I'm still you get my money. Like either
that's
way,
fair.
you know. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, do you guys want to move on to user reviews?
Sure, I'm ready for it.
Take it away, Paul.
All right. So, of course, Overwatch being a Blizzard game, it launches through battle.net where there are no reviews. So I scoured Metacritic, of which there are a couple thousand reviews on there, tried to find a couple that I found interesting. So I've got 4 here for you. The first review that I have is a 10 out of 10 review. The hype was real. Blizzard delivered. Fantastically fun game, and I must say, Blizzard handled launch day spectacularly. Me and my friends only got disconnected once or twice in the first 6 hours. About $1 each is a fair price for the loot crates, in my opinion. 10 out of 10. Now, I don't remember loot crates being $1, but did you guys ever pay for loot crates? Did that ever matter to you?
No.
I've never once paid for a loot crate in any game with the exception of Rocket League.
I famously will build up how many loot boxes I earn on my character. Oh yeah. I'll get up to 250 and I'll ask my 10-year-old, do you want to open all these loot boxes? Go ahead. Because I don't care. I don't care about the cosmetics. However, I do weirdly care about voice lines.
Yeah.
I do.
I knew that was coming.
I probably drive you guys crazy with this too. I love finding the longest or the funniest voice lines and just spamming it for the entire match.
And every character has one voice line that is just awful.
Yeah.
And
And
then
Paul
you must
knows all of
spam
them.
it as many times as possible.
Or Maze, sorry.
Sorry.
Hey,
Don't you talk bad about
LOL.
Sorry.
LOL. It's great. All right, so that was the
Yeah.
first review. This next review is a 0 out of 10. Absolute garbage. What's the point of having 23 characters when the same broken OP ones get picked every game? And Blizzard couldn't design a matchmaker to save their lives. Between this, StarCraft 2, and their recent efforts in WoW, it's obvious they really don't belong in the business of making PvP games.
Oh,
Huh?
that's a bitter, weird fan.
Is there anything in there that you agree with?
No, 0.
0.
Nothing.
I feel like their matchmaking is top in the business. Like they have MR, SR, like
Yeah.
the matches are very easy to be thrown one way, but most of the matches you play in Overwatch come out to be close.
Yeah, and talking about people not playing the new characters, okay, I kind of get that, because when Ana and Sombra were released, they were the first new characters. They weren't very good, or at least people didn't know how to play them. But I think that they have done a fantastic job in rolling out so many new characters. And sure, they get tinkered. They're always way too powerful in the PTR. They get scaled back. People learn how to play them, and then they're great. Like, I don't agree with anything in this review. I think the new characters have been fantastic. The matchmaking, like Todd said, is top of the biz. I don't think anyone else should be making PvP games. You know, let's throw it to Blizzard.
Like, I have no idea why that guy's so mad at Blizzard.
And how are you going to take a stab at like WoW and StarCraft? Like,
Yeah, those are
What
very
is he-
solid
Yeah.
games.
yeah.
Yeah, don't pick on WoW. All right, if you guys like that, you're gonna love this one. 0 out of 10. Polished garbage. Game has no balance to speak of and continues to get worse each patch. New heroes are released at a snail's pace. Maps are completely unbalanced. Patches are always focused on profit over player enjoyment. Developers have zero game sense. No story, no single player. Anything interesting is patched out eventually.
Are these people leaving reviews for the wrong game?
Right?
Is it like
I don't know.
did they just accidentally like typo in like,
It was-
Overwatch? Like,
Are you sure you weren't on like Paladins or
Yeah,
a different game?
How
don't
can you say
understand that.
how can you say that new characters are released at a snail's pace? This game started with 21 characters. Do you guys know how many there are now?
30
some.
32.
34? 32.
And it's only been a couple years. I mean, I did the math. It's a new character every 4 months. I mean,
that's pretty good.
That is pretty fast, honestly.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We all want more characters more often, gimme kind of stuff. But without breaking balance or just, having characters that don't make any sort of impact at all, like that's fine. 4 months is great.
Or like the developers not having game sense. I was watching a behind the scenes while they were developing Hammond, and they started making map changes and deploying them before Hammond even came out. That would make that character easier to use to like grab something and swing up. Which like the forethought in that is amazing.
Yeah, don't be coming after Papa Jeff and the Overwatch team.
Yeah,
come on,
messes with Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff's a national hero. We should put him up on Mount Rushmore. All right, so and besides, they're talking about like patching things out. They have patched out old goofy stuff. Like Reaper used to get kills and they would drop soul orbs that you'd have to run and grab. Like there were goofy mechanics that they've gotten rid of. I think most of the patches have been great.
Mercy would yell die on point, and then 5 characters would die on point, so you can res all of them at the same time.
And how many reworks has Sim been through now?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, Sim used to have
3 complete reworks.
Yeah.
Her old gun, you didn't have to aim. It just locked on to enemy targets, and she would just wreck them.
Yeah.
That's what he got mad at.
Yeah.
He can't aim, so he was just missing Sim.
Yep. All right, and then finally, this review is a little bit longer, but it's 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed reading this. I thought I was done with multiplayer first-person shooters. That is, until I played Overwatch. Each of the 21 characters plays entirely uniquely from the other characters. No two play the same. I believe this is a game that has to be experienced rather than explained. Through all the explanations I've seen, all the videos, it just looked like another arena shooter. But oh boy, when you play this game, it feels amazing. All the characters feel like you can make an entire shooter out of that character. Koff, Soldier 76, and McCree already have game series about them. From what I know, it's Blizzard's first attempt at a shooter, and boy is it good. For multiplayer-only games, this may be the absolute best.
It's a good review.
Yeah.
I mean, not to mention the short films that they've made for the characters. Like the Hanzo versus Genji one. That thing's freaking great, man. The cartoon,
all of them are fantastic.
Yeah, I love when they were releasing those because I was amped to watch those.
I've never watched any. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know who's a part of Overwatch. I didn't even know that the bad guys were called Falcon until you said it earlier. They're Talon. Talon? Are they called Talon? I honestly don't care because this game is so good. It's hard for me to get into the Overwatch lore.
I thought they did a great job at building lore on a game that doesn't have any storyline.
Yeah.
They did a fantastic job with
because it makes you care about the characters. And when you're playing the game and you are that character, that's what matters.
Yeah. So, I mean, even just through like voice lines in the game, they kind of build what these characters are like. So I've picked up some of that along the way. Like, I think Moira's bad and Reaper, and I think Mercy and Soldier are good, but that's really about all I know. Like, we have a friend who loves to yell lore accurate picks only. Like where you're supposed to pick characters that belong on that map. And I always say, I don't know what that means. Okay, Hanamura, I think is like Genji and Hanzo because they're Asian, but now am I being racist? I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about this lore. So anyway, it's there if you want it. And even if you don't want it, the rest of the game's great. So as far as the score goes, I had to get a user score like we do from Metacritic. So 0.0 to 10.0. What do you think is the average user score on Metacritic?
So this is user
score.
Okay.
Todd, you're the champ. You got to go first.
I'm going. It's out of 100, right?
0.0 to 10.0.
9.3.
Dang it! You stole my pick.
Boom.
I know. 9.4.
Okay, come on.
Hey man, that's the downside to you being the champ is you've got to go first.
I wrote down 8.8. The actual is 6.5.
What?
6.5. Can you believe it?
Shame on people for leaving crap reviews. There's no way.
If it makes you feel better, the critic score is a 91. And that's where it belongs. It should be in the 90s.
Makes me feel better. But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, in fact, if you go, I will say almost all the negative reviews are from 2016, which even that seems crazy to me because we loved it at release. But I was really shocked at the amount of low reviews. A lot of it may have also come just with Blizzard's backlash with like Hong Kong and everything.
Yeah.
But I can't believe that it's that low of a score. That is an absolute crime.
Well, Paul, you're the winner.
A winner is me.
Would you like to introduce the next segment?
Last time this didn't go so well, but I'll try.
I love when Paul wins.
Down.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Make Love, Marry, or Murder. And in this segment, we take a look at Overwatch. You know, it's our little spin on the traditional game. Are you gonna make love, marry, or murder Overwatch? Let's toss it to Josh. How about you go first, buddy?
Easiest decision
it really
of my
is.
life. I'm marrying this game. I'm marrying it, and then I'm renewing my vows later on.
Yep.
You know, like we're going on a second honeymoon. Easy peasy.
What about you, Todd?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a short segment. Mary. I'm going to steal it from Josh.
Wait.
Confess my love.
What? I'm married. That means forever. You can't steal it, Todd.
Oh,
a different Overwatch. She goes to a different school.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. She lives in Canada.
We met her one summer.
Yeah. This game is absolutely merry. It is not just merry, it is a happy marriage. It is rock solid. You're celebrating that 50th anniversary, baby, down the road. This game deserves it. That was easy. Is that three thumbs up for Overwatch?
Don't we have 2 thumbs each?
Oh, 6 thumbs?
Six thumbs.
Yeah, I give 2 thumbs up.
All right. Fair enough. Six thumbs is 6 thumbs out of 6 thumbs is our
lot of thumbs.
Our review.
All right, guys, is it worth the price? I looked it up for PC, $19.99.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I bought it twice. I bought one copy that I gave to my friend because I wanted him to play. And I said, I'm fine throwing Blizzard an extra $20 to have a friend join. So, yeah, absolutely worth it.
I don't care what the price of this game is. Like, you know, it would be hard to drop $100 on a video game, but knowing what I know now, like, I easily would have paid $100 for this game.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing this game for like 2,000 hours, you're paying, pennies an hour for entertainment here. If you'll drop, $20 to go to the movies with you and one other person, you should definitely spend it on Overwatch if you haven't already.
Agreed. All right. Well, let's go to the leaderboard and see where this game stacks up. Are you guys ready for the leaderboard? Where do we want to put this? Like, I'm going to go high on the list. Like 1 Apex, 2 Rocket League, 3 Rust.
You can stop there. It's got to be 1.
I'm number 1, baby.
It's 1.
I'm throwing it out there. I'm saying number 1. We might have a new champion.
I'm good with number 1. I mean, the amount of hours we have in this game alone, the amount of friends we have that love this game, like, it's number 1.
There's just so much to do in it too. Like, this is not just a game that was a flash in the pan and we had fun. I mean, even if you don't like the regular comp modes or the quick play 6v6, my kids never play those modes. They only play stuff in the arcade. They love the floor is lava and they love these other modes. So I feel like it literally, sometimes we throw that phrase out. It has something for everyone. This game literally has something for everyone. How do you not put it number 1?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a generational game, man. This game will go down in history. I mean, there's not been a game quite like it. I mean, the amount of polish, I don't see how it's not number 1 on the leaderboard either, to be honest with you. Like, this game is incredible.
I mean, it's Overwatch.
Yeah.
Can't compare it to anything else.
You can't.
Except for paladins, maybe.
Yeah, and I still feel like we barely scratched the surface. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if maybe we did like a second Overwatch pod of this, maybe like a year from now, because
there's so much
to talk about.
Overwatch 2 will be out by then.
Yeah.
So, and we'll definitely do one on Overwatch 2.
Absolutely. Can't wait to play it. I'm excited.
Well, that wraps up the leaderboard segment for our show today. If you want to view all of our rankings, you can find them on our site, multiplayerpodcast.com. It was fun hanging out this week and playing Overwatch. If you're interested in more multiplayer podcast content, don't forget to subscribe to the Multiplayer Gaming Podcast on your podcasting app. And stay up to date with us on Twitter @MultiplayerPod. Next week, I'm not going to be here, guys. I'm gonna be having a baby.
Dropping the dead weight.
Yeah. Ouch. Ouch. You guys aren't going to know what to do without me.
We'll miss you, Todd.
I said this last episode, Paul, but I'm going to say it this time too. Dibs on host.
We'll figure it out.
Dibs on host.
You guys have to like 1v1 in a game or something to figure out who's host.
Rocket League 1v1, Paul.
Yeah, not Rocket League. Oh goodness.
Well, what game are you guys playing next week?
Oh, it's a good one. You want to tell him, Paul?
Sure. We're going to cover Far Cry 5 because with Todd being out, we have a special opportunity to talk about a 2-player co-op game, and Far Cry 5 meets the bill. You can play the entire storyline with 2 people. This game is absolutely wild with what you can do. I don't want to give any spoilers, but like this game is extra in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
I mean, this game has, again, I'll reference them as pharmaceuticals that you take that improve your abilities. There are attack helicopters. You fight bears. I mean, what does this game not have?
This game embodies all that is America.
Yes.
Yeah, it really does.
It really does.
Not America, just America.
America. That's Far Cry 5.
I have not yet beat it. I'm going through it for the first time, and I just finished a mission with a guy who wears an American flag and runs around with an RPG. And he just runs around with me on missions and blows stuff up. So it's great. Josh and I have already had a blast playing it. I can't wait to talk about it next week.
Yeah.
When I'm hosting.
No. What?
Oh.
I called dibs. Sorry.
Who knows? We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, see you guys. I mean, probably a couple weeks for me, but Todd out.
Oh, we'll see you soon, Todd.
Yeah,
you'll be back before you know it.
We'll be happy
hold the fort down
to have you back when you're ready.
Yep. See you guys.
See you, everybody.
Did somebody say peanut butter?
Boop.
Oh, yeah.